folks who was very much involved in the battle for civil rights and voting rights was, of course, Medgar Evers. He was the field secretary for the NAACP here in Mississippi, Army veteran, who was assassinated in his driveway as a result of his fight for the rights for African Americans. And joining us right now is his daughter, Reena Denise Evers. Did your whole Gutman name? Your mama would be happy for me to hear that. First of all, how is your mother, Merle Evers Williams?
She says hello. She is doing much better. She's very happy to know that I get to see you face to face, and so I'll give you a hug afterwards from her.
All right, I certainly appreciate that.
And she said keep going with what you're doing.
Absolutely, will do, will do. So let's talk about, again, that importance of voting. I tweeted a photo when I dropped by 2332 yesterday, and I said, your father gave his life. And someone said, no, Roland, his life was taken from him. I said, no. I said, you don't understand. I said, folks like your dad knew what they were facing. Yeah. And they knew what they were coming after. They knew the folks who they had a bullseye on their back because they dared to say the freedoms that he fought for in the United States Army for other folk, black folks deserve those same freedoms.
Exactly. And, you know, thank you for saying 2332 Guine Street, even though it's Margaret Walker Alexander now, which is wonderful because it's named
now, what was it called then?
Guines.
Guines. Spell it? What?
G-U-Y-N-E-S.
Ah, that was a street. That was the name of the street then.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Okay.
But Margaret Walker Alexander lived up the street.
Ah, so the street was renamed
after her.
Got it. Okay,
yes,
cool. All right.
Which is wonderful to know now, but as a kid, you didn't know who all was up on the street and who was in the neighborhood, like Constance Motley. You know, talking about given his life, they have, the civil rights activists and other activists, given their lives as opposed to being taken away. You know, from a personal daughter view, it was taken away as a kid. But as you get older and you understand all that they were doing, especially my father was doing, he knew what he was doing, just like you said. And they knew what they were doing. The threats that came in all the time into the house, the threats that came to us in person, was critical in shaping my father's steps, because he knew that he was putting not only himself in danger, but his family in danger. But as he said in an article in Ebony, you know, he lives in Mississippi, and he won't leave Mississippi, because this is where it starts. It starts of not just reconciliation, but understanding of respect and rights, God-given rights. And so going through being taken, God takes you, but also what I know for sure is God gave him his mission, and he was fulfilling his mission.
It has to drive you crazy, knowing full well what your dad was doing, and to hear people say, I don't vote, it means nothing to me, or this is a waste of time, voting changes nothing. I had somebody post earlier something Malcolm X said. I said, well, first of all, dude, you can't even remotely talk about what Malcolm X was saying in 1960 or 61 or 62, 63, when black people were still trying to even get their right to vote. And so how does that has to irk you, knowing full well just the hell that your dad went through and your family went through and black folks went through just to be able to register and have folks say, man, this is a waste of my time.
Not just to register, but to pass the test that they had to pass at that time. Yes, it more than irks me. And actually, I have a couple of friends who of different ethnic backgrounds that have said that to me. Well, Reena, I'm sorry to say this to you, but, you know, I'm not going to vote. And I said, and why not? Well, what does it matter? I said, one vote counts. One vote counts in a lot. I said, does your life matter to you? Do you know what your rights are? First of all, you are privileged at this time, and I use that word very lightly. You're privileged at this time to be able to walk wherever you want to walk, to be able to go into a restaurant of your choosing, to be able to go, as I heard Mike Epsby said earlier, try on clothes in the high-end stores without being told to go out or told that you can't try on. You have to buy it and you can't return it. You have to, you know, gauge what your clothes size would be in order to get it, or be totally refused to be able to go into the store. And that's what happened. And what irks me, really gets to me, is that people think that this was centuries ago. This happened my lifetime. I'm 60 years old. And I'm 63 years old, and I'm proud of it.
Right. Your mama proud when she give her age. Go
yes,
ahead.
She is.
Yes.
And so what irks me is that, do you realize what is happening now happened then? You're not that far removed. That's really 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Your parents, your grandparents lived through this. You're living in a day where you have the opportunity to understand what's going on by technology. Most people carry around cell phones. Cell phones are little computers. Little computers that give you the knowledge that all you have to do is say, hey, Google, ask about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Mm-hmm. Ask about slavery. What are those amendments about? Reconstructive, right after civil rights. The Civil War. That was the whole purpose of civil rights, of the movement. And the movement started not in the 1900s. It started actually right after this country in 1700s, the late 1700s, early 1800s. So my real concern, not my real concern, my focus, and so many of us are about educating about why you need to do this. You need to understand that what so many people died for, because of their beliefs and their commitment to you in this generation, in next generation, that should make an impact on you. You should want to go out and give your voice to what your life is about. You pay taxes. Now, some of you might say you don't pay taxes, but everybody pays taxes. You pay sales tax, don't you? So where do those sales taxes go to? They go to what the government decides is going to be good for you or not. What programs, you know, the younger children are not being able to have after-school programs. They're not going to be able to have programs that they consider electives. Mm-hmm. So those taxes are being utilized for what? And so I just, to go back to, does it irk me? It has a fire in me that it had, I believe, in my father, in Amzie Moore, in Sam Bailey, in Vernon Damer, in Fannie Lou Hamer, and so many, because they were at the podium all the time. It didn't have to be a podium in front of a large audience. It was each and every one, and that's what we have to do, to educate about your rights.
And look, earlier today, again, at the Pastor's Prayer Rally, they announced about 944,000 folks had voted. and that they were seeing numbers voting in this race that were comparable or even higher than when Obama ran. So you got black folks in Mississippi who are energized, but clearly for Mike Espy to win, he's going to need a very, very high turnout of people in order to do so. And so I just want folks to understand it's not like people are ignoring this, but the reality is, again, for me, I'm still a firm believer that even one person sitting at home, not using their power, to me, it makes no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't even make sense because in a year after a bill's been passed, whether it's about your health, whether it's about your housing, whether it's about school, your school debts, it's going to affect every single person. So sitting and waiting for a major election such as a presidential election does not help us at all in the everyday life that we're living. And so you need to be going out and voting when it comes to your local officials, when it comes to your state officials, and all the government officials. And so this race is critical. The race all this year in a lot of different states have been critical because things are going backwards at an amazing rate that it feels like I'm back in a mass meeting with my dad and he's talking about your rights and what you need to learn and what you need to do. So we have to get out, not only the vote, we have to get out the ones that are sitting, as you said, in the armchair going, okay, let me look at this election, let me see what it's doing. There's too many waiting to see. And you keep waiting and we won't have.
All right then.
Okay. I just, if you mind, if I can just say one thing, and I go by my dad, his wisdom, and it amazes me when I go back and read some of his speeches. What's so prevalent now? And I'm like, here we go again, but it's so prevalent. And so I just would like to just read this one thought. And I have this on my website. But although great strides in the field of human relations have been made, we cannot give up now. But rather it is necessary from this day forward that we take increased devotion lest those precious rights we have gained be taken away. Let it not be said of us when history records these momentous times that we slept while our rights were taken by those who would keep us in slavery, by those who say that we are doing all right. And that speaks volumes now, and that was done in April 20th, 1961. So that's valid now. So those of you who are out there hearing this, don't sleep away your rights. Go out and vote. Take at least 30 people with you, or make sure that they go out and vote so our rights will be in a solid foundation in this nation.
Reena Evers, always good to see you.
Love you.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve.